everyone, I'm Katie the Crafty Blog Stalker, and today I am going to show you how to make and design a decal for the side of your vehicle, just like this one that I just made. I absolutely love it, and I'm going to show you how you can make one for yourself. We are going to be applying this decal in a separate video, so keep an eye out for that. I'm going to start here in Cricut Design Space. I'm in a blank canvas. And the first thing I'm going to do is find the design that I want. And I know I want a mountain range. So I'm going to type that into the search and see what comes up. Now, of course, if you don't like to go camping or like to be in the mountains, you can find something else that fits more your personality. Here is my mountain range. And it is Cricut Access, so all I have to do is click on it and insert that image into my canvas. Now I'm going to show you some fun magic on how to size it to your vehicle. The first thing we're going to do is open up a shape. We're going to grab a square. I'm going to unlock those dimensions, make it more image shaped. And we are going to upload, but we are not going to upload an image. We are going to upload a pattern. But we are going to upload an image. We're just going to upload it into the pattern. So here is a side picture of my Jeep. So I'm going to go ahead and click on upload. And then I want to insert that Jeep into this shape right here. So I'm going to come up here to operation, print, then cut standard. And then we're going to click that gray square, and instead of color, we're going to click on pattern. And this is where we can pull up the picture of my Jeep. You can see I've done it a couple times. And now we're going to edit the pattern, and we are going to make it fill that box. Now, if you hit shift while you hit the up or down arrow keys, it'll go by 10. Instead of by 1 at a time. So that just makes it a little bit faster. And we're just going to center my vehicle, my cute Jeep, there in that square. Perfect, just like that. See, and now there is my Jeep. Okay, I'm going to lock the dimensions on that. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to bring that design to the front. And then I can kind of play around with this design and try and get the best placement, how I like that design to look on my vehicle. Now with this mountain range design, I can unclick the lock dimensions. And the great thing about this design is really however I stretch and pull it, it still looks like a mountain range. Now, not all designs do this. In fact, very few designs do this. But the mountain range is one that I can pull up and I can play around with it a little bit and try and get the placement exactly how I want. Now, what I'm looking at with my Jeep is on the doors, there are these big hinges because you can actually take the doors off of Jeeps. But I really don't want to have to mess with putting the vinyl over the top of those hinges. It's just a pain. It's more technical than what I want to deal with. So I am going to try and avoid that. Now, I'm not quite liking how this is looking, so let's try and flip. Let's go ahead and flip our design. And that definitely fits a little bit better, but I've still got this hinge right here that I don't want to deal with. Now this next step is a bit more advanced, but basically because I couldn't get that design exactly how I wanted it, the next step that I took was to actually play around with the design. If you create other shapes, let's say a square, you can take this design, and if you only want certain parts of it, you put the square over the part that you want to take out, and you highlight both, and you slice. And we don't need that, and we don't need that, and we don't need that. And you can see how you can get rid of or add on other pieces of the same design. And that is exactly what I did with this design. You can see it's a little bit different, and in fact, if we go back, I'm going to undo here. So that is the original mountain range, okay, that we were dealing with. And this is the new one that I created. And I basically did that just by cutting and slicing pieces off and then arranging them in a design that would work for me. And then I welded the entire design together. And you see now if I put it on here, I can measure it up. And that lays on there perfectly where I don't have to deal with any of those hinges. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out to my Jeep, and I can see where this is going to be on my Jeep. So I need to measure from the front to the back. So on mine, it's about to the end of that back bumper right there, that end piece of the bumper, because I want the design to go into the bumper, and then I'll just cut that off with an X-Acto knife. And for my Jeep, that is 72 inches right there. So then what I need to do, here we're going to get rid of that, and we don't need my Jeep anymore, so we're going to go ahead and close that. Then what we're going to do is we're going to keep the dimension locked, and we're going to change this to 72 inches. And now if I go in, this is the size of my decal that I'm going to put on my Jeep. Now you'll notice up here my height is 16.5 inches. I'm going to be cutting with my Cricut Maker 3, and the max height that can cut is 11.75. So we actually need to cut this in pieces and then assemble once it's cut. So don't worry, I'll show you how to do that. But first I'm going to show you how to cut this design. So we are going to open a shape again. These shapes are my favorite. I use them all the time. Unlock dimensions. And remember, we're going to cut 11.75 is the max. So we're going to unlock dimensions on that. We want to keep that. Okay, so we're going to change this to 11.75. And we're going to make this just a little bit longer than my design. So I cut it for 72, so let's make this square, 73. And I'm going to change it to white just so I can see it a little bit better. And I'm going to keep my design on top there in my layers panel. So now that's technically going to be my first cut. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to highlight that box, and I'm going to make another one. Get everything in order here. Okay, so this is 16.5 inches, right? So we're going to do a little math here. We're going to take 16.58 minus 11.75. And that means that this other square needs to be about almost 5 inches. But we want there to be an overlap. So I'm actually going to make this panel 6 inches tall. So I'm going to click on the padlock to unlock dimensions, and I'm going to make the height 6 inches. And then if we bring everything back up, we're going to line that white one about with the bottom, and then we bring that one up top. See here we have this little overlap right there. And what we're going to do is create some alignment points. So again, we're going to go to shapes, and we're going to use the star because it has the most points. And if we line up 2 stars on 2 different layers, then we can be pretty sure that everything else in that design is going to line up. So we want that star. to be we'll go 0.8. And we're going to put one on this side. And we're going to copy and paste. And we're going to put the other one on the other side. Just like that. Okay. Next, we need to hide our 2 white squares. And we're going to highlight everything. And we are going to weld. And now those stars are a part of this design. We aren't going to leave them on the side of our vehicle, but like I said, they're going to help us line everything up. And then we want to have 2 of these mountain ranges. So we're going to copy and paste again. And the easiest way to line them up is to highlight both of them and go to Align and Center. And now it looks like we have 1 mountain range, but we really have 2, as we can see in the layers panel. We're going to unhide those white rectangles, and we're going to highlight the top mountain range and the top white rectangle. And we're going to come down here and we are going to slice. Now this is going to create 3 different cutouts. We've got this one, which we don't want to keep because it doesn't have stars. This one has the stars. You can see the stars right there, but then we don't need the white layers. Okay, and now we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to highlight the mountain and that other white rectangle, and again, we're going to slice. So we're just going to go down and look. Now we can see this one does not have stars, so we don't want that. We can delete it. That one does have stars. We want to keep it, and we don't need to keep the white pieces. So now we have 2 cutouts. And when you line them up perfectly, it looks like you only have 1 cutout. And now all that's left here is to cut it out. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Make It and send it to my Cricut Maker 3. To cut our vinyl, we are going to be using the roll holder. So I'm just going to slide that into place on my machine. I'm then going to place my black permanent vinyl in and feed it through. And then load. And for starters, the machine is going to pull that in and just make sure that there is enough vinyl for the project that we've selected. So it's going to measure it, it's going to feed it all the way through, and then it will bring it back out. Now it doesn't roll that great on its way back, so I just kind of like to help it a little bit. Now it's ready to cut, so we're going to hit that play or start button. And the machine is going to cut our vinyl. As you can see, you're going to want a big work surface or a table to be able to work on. Our next step is to weed our design, and even though they're big, they weed really easily. Just going to start at a corner and pull that up. So there's one, there's our top piece done. And now we're going to move to our really long piece. If you wanted to, you could come in and trim these areas, which is honestly what I should have done. So I'm not throwing away this vinyl, I could still use it for other projects. Now because this piece is so long, I'm going to keep a pair of scissors close so I can trim off that vinyl when it gets too much to handle. Slide this down more. And we're just going to keep going. Now that we've got our pieces weeded, we are going to work on attaching the pieces together. We're going to start with the smaller piece, so I'm going to move that larger piece out of the way. And the first thing we're going to do is trim off the excess. So I'm going to take a look at the back and see what line I can follow. And I can follow this line right here. So I'm just going to cut all of this off because it's just going to be in the way. Now we're going to bring in our transfer tape. And I am just going to measure how much I need by just laying it against my decal here and unrolling it. And again, cutting it off at the end. Now to apply our transfer tape, we really want to keep it pretty straight on there. So I'm going to line the top of the transfer tape up with the top of the decal. And to keep it in place, we're going to use some painter's tape. We're going to use lots of painter's tape in this tutorial. We're basically going to do the hinge method to apply the transfer tape and even to apply the decal. So we're going to put that down. We're going to grab our weeding tool again. And we're going to separate that transfer tape from its backing sheet. And we're going to pull it straight back. Then we're going to lift up that piece of paper and we're going to cut it off. Then we're going to grab our scraper tool and lift up that transfer tape. And we're going to lay it down into place. And we can do the same to the other side. We're going to lift that up. Peel it back. And then lay it down. All right, so there's our top piece with our stars. Now we're going to layer it on top of our longer piece. So we're going to carefully peel this up and move it out of the way. We're going to bring in our larger piece, and there are our stars that we're going to use to line up our piece with. So this part is a little tricky, but we can do it, right? What we're going to do, this is our top piece. I brought it in, it's laying face down. And I'm going to come in and pull up this, just the bottom part, just a little bit. And we're going to fold it back. We're going to fold it first and then cut it. I find that easier. Now I'm going to bring in my craft blade. And I don't want to cut through the vinyl. I only want to cut through this backing. So I'm going to just put that through. Now I think my camera might have cut out. So I'm just going to explain to you what I did here. You can see here are my stars. And I lined up those stars, which then lines up the rest of our mountains with our design. Now we're going to add our transfer tape to the bottom portion of our decal. And we're going to do that the same way as we did the top. So let me just bring it into camera here. I've already measured it and cut how long I need it to be. And I'm going to line that up right how I want it. And then I'm going to bring my tape back in. Here, we'll do it about down here. Keep everything in place. then we're going to separate that top layer again. We're going to peel that back. Now we're going to take our scissors and cut this off. And then using our scraper, we're going to lay that down. Working with large decals definitely adds a layer of difficulty, but it can be done, and most important thing to remember is patience. Don't try and rush this. Take your time. So now we're going to remove our tape for that hinge. And we're going to pull it back the other way. And now we're going to lay down the transfer tape on the other side. Peel it all the way back. Now it's going to be hard for you to see it because I'm going to be peeling. But as I peel, just applying that transfer tape to the other side. And I'm pushing down with my hand. And we're going to go over that again with our scraper. So we're getting close. There's still a couple more prep steps that we need to do. First, we're going to trim all the way around this decal. And I'm going to take my scissors and just go around the whole decal. The less bulky extra stuff we have, the easier it's going to be to apply. And then while we're trimming, we can cut out those stars because we don't want those stars as a part of our design. Now we're going to tape down this seam on the back just to make it a little bit more secure. And of course I can't find my blue tape now, so I'm going to use some different tape. This is also masking tape or painter's tape. Just has a design on it. All right, so we've got that taped down. Now remember the hinges. I wanted to go around the hinges, and right here in this hole is where one of those hinges are going to go. So I'm going to cut this hole out using my craft knife. I've got my cutting board again here, or my cutting mat, whatever you want to call it. And I've got my craft knife, and I'm just going to cut this out. Kind of same as the edges, doesn't have to be perfect. And it does help if you use a new craft knife because it's nice and sharp. And we're going to be using the craft knife on the installation of this decal as well. Now we have our hole, and now we are ready to apply our decal to our car. Are you nervous? Are you scared? We can do it. I promise. Let's go.